A very pleasant good afternoon and welcome to the Rush, the afternoon rush with yours, Randolph Critchlow. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. It is Wednesday, the second day of June 2021. We're happy that you're joining us. It's a rainy day in Georgetown and we want to ensure that every single body is joining us. Folks, let's get it. Let's unpack. Thank you very much for staying tuned here on the Afternoon Rush. It is the Rush Show. Yours truly, Randolph Critchlow. Again, welcome to everyone joining us. Remember, you can share the live stream. Share the live stream with your friends and family. Let everyone know that we're about to unpack some credible and valid information here. Lots to share with you. If you're looking at us from YouTube, ensure you give us a like and hit the notification bell so you can be aware of when we are live. You'll get a pop-up on your phone. Thank you very much for those persons. Folks, it has been 304 days of this fraudulent administration, this fraudulent installed, illegitimate, illegal administration that is running our country, and the country continues to reel under their heavy hand as we see it moving. Of course, we see from a creeping, walking, running dictatorship. Is a fully fledged dictatorship we're living under right now. And we'll talk about that and more as we go deeper into the president's intervention into the police service commission. We're going to talk about that. Paul Slow coming out again today with more information, standing firm, standing his ground. Of course, he said that there is proof. So the proof is in the pudding, Mr. President. Ball is in your court. We have these issues of letters being given to person, asking them to show proof why they shouldn't be let go from their job. Well, the president should show us proof why he shouldn't step down and resign after trying to intervene. He should show proof. And the ball is in your court, Mr. President. Tell us why you shouldn't be reprimanded for doing something like that. We're also going to talk about the flooding situation, folks. It has continued. It has worsened in many cases in many parts of the country. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the blame game being played by this fraudulent administration to lay blame on others for the flooding that is happening all across the country, every single region. It was reported that the only region that wasn't flooded was region number 8, but that has changed. We've seen flooding in region number 8 too. Region number 10 is extremely hard hit, the Kwakwani area, folks. We are going to be showing you some surprising videos of persons taking boat rides through the streets of Kwakwani. It is quite a sight to behold. And we're also going to be talking about what I said day before yesterday, the firing of 300 persons from GWI. We're going to start with that. We are going to start with that particular thing. I showed you this a few days ago, folks. I showed you this. Let me bring it back for you. And this was Gordon Moser reporting on the situation there at GWI, where the company has decided that they have too many employees. They said over the past 5 years, over 400 employees were hired. Now, I would assume that this is a natural course of action in any expanding country, any developing country, that employment would go up, more persons have to be serviced. But they're saying this, and I want to discuss this issue today in the context of what we have seen from this administration with pumping billions of dollars into the sugar industry. Those sugar workers, nobody's saying that they don't deserve whatever they got. But you cannot be, hypocritical with the thing. You can't say we're going to cut these workers because we don't have money to pay them, and it's putting a strain on the purse. Whereas the government is pumping $1 billion into something that doesn't make money. It's not even like GWI, an essential service that is being provided. And this is the strange thing that I want to discuss today before we get to all of the other topics, including what is happening there at GCOM. And it's quite interesting what is happening there, but we're going to get to that. To help us unpack these and other issues, we have on the line of political correspondent, Miss Nicole Telford. Nicole, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Nicole.
Hi, good afternoon, Randy.
Good afternoon, Nicole. I'm happy to have you. I know we did a few shows together, but this is the first time you're going to be coming in as a correspondent, and I'm happy to have you here. I'm always interested to hear your views on these issues. Nicole, we're unpacking some of the major issues in the news. We are dealing with this issue at GWI. And I had an interesting perspective today from former head of GWI, Mr. Van West Charles, who said there is no reason, especially in this time, to be firing 300 persons. Your thoughts, Nicole?
Well, he just said it. No reason at all. Because those persons would have been employed under the APNU-AFC coalition to improve the water sector. And that is to say, they were employed there were some pipe-ins along the roadway that were rusted and needed replacement, which was overlooked under the 23 years of the previous PPPC administration. And those pipelines were changed, rerouted, so residents all across the country in Sophia, where it was problematic, where people used to be seeing frogs and flies and tadpole and fish swimming through their taps.
Yes.
That was one of the aspects that was repaired. You never used to see people posting on Facebook, oh gosh, water coming through the tap at Rusty. Now from Westminster to Parfait Harmony to Sophia and all of those communities around Georgetown complaining of the quality of potable water they're getting through their taps. Also, those persons were employed to man the pumps at the various areas so that they can check on water levels and the measurements so that water supply was equally and evenly distributed across Guyana. You never had people complaining about those things. So what Dr. Van West Charles is saying is absolutely correct. No need. You understand? No need. Not only that, in addition, that is putting more pressure on an already terrible situation with employment in Guyana, where the PPPC has knock off, retrench, cut services from over 2,000 Guyanese now. And with this 300 added, exempted at how much more pending, it's going to be crazy. This will spike crime, as crime is already spiking. And it got so much repercussions about this that is being done by the PPPC through Sheikh Bash and the Guyana Water Incorporated, on the pretext, if I might add, of overstaffing. You understand? And I really, really don't know what else to say on this matter. I think Dr. Van West Charles will be able to address it on a much higher level than I can. But that's what I see it.
I know that Mr. Dr. Charles has a press conference tomorrow at 11. I'd be interested to hear what he said. But this idea of services provided by GWI, if you're going to cut 300 workers from that organization, a significant amount of those services will have to be reduced, or there'll be a lag on the provision of those services. It just seems like a couple of steps backwards. Under the APNU-AFC, we saw the digging of over 30 wells in those indigenous communities. This all done under Dr. Van West Charles, right? And so there was an expansion. Go ahead.
Yes, 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 Randy. And those same communities that wells were dug in, we visited many of them. And guess what? The residents were so enthralled. Many of them got testament and testimony to these issues on Facebook.
Yeah.
They never received water in their communities, and they were, amazed that that could have happened in such a short space of time. Dr. Van West Charles revolutionized the water sector. He had a phenomenal performance.
Yes.
Right there. Sheikh Bash can't come close. 23 years they spent there, and they could not conceptualize the Guyanese need for them to develop and for you to maintain sanitation. Clean potable water is needed. They only talk the talk, they never walk the walk.
Yeah, yeah. So we see these persons being let go in the name of the purse, and I want to take us to that part of the conversation. You're cutting the services. You will have to put pressure on the services provided by GWI. You're going to create even more unemployment as we are facing this pandemic, and a lot of persons are out of jobs. And you're saying this is in the name of economics. But at the same time, we see you pumping billions of dollars into a failed sugar industry, into something that doesn't make money, and you just have to keep throwing money at it. How is it that Guyanese can square that circle? That can come to grips with the fact that you are going to pump billions of dollars into the sugar industry, but you're going to send home 300 people because you say you can't find money to pay them. Somehow, the PPP wants us to believe that makes some sort of sense. Can you make some sense of that, Nicole?
Randy, that's a good point you raise. And my take on that is it is certainly racially motivated and victimization because, and I'm saying this without any apologies, the PPP sat and said APNU AFC retrench hundreds of sugar workers. Right? Yes. Sugar workers. But what they did not do was due diligence and tell the Guyanese people the truth that those persons were aligned to different skill sets. Some of them were given payoff, and some of them were offered and given land to do other cultivation.
Yes.
The PPP did not do that. Additionally, the PPP did not inform the general public that the closing of sugar industry and retrenchment started under their administration, Diamond, LBI, and the likes. They never said that it started under their administration when they retrenched hundreds of workers that were protesting in front of 𝐓𝐡𝐞 and that they had to answer to. And coming back to it, the same sugar workers, they fought the APNU AFC government on that front and had them lined up protesting about being retrenched and not receiving money, while many of them, almost all of them, got paid and reassigned to different areas. But now we see them retrenching over 2,300 persons.
Yeah.
And the PPPC is silent.
Yeah.
Their counterparts that supported them, which would be the private sector and all of those businesses that supported them in crying out about the sugar workers. What are they saying now?
Yeah.
And you tell me that is not an injustice. And how does the PPP feel and any human being feel to be sitting there and watching this unfold and be happy about it?
Yeah.
You understand, when the David Grange-led administration took office in 2015, they never discriminated. Everything was done equitably across the country.
Oh.
And that is what Guyanese people need to understand and to propagate. And don't worry or to put out there, share with the family and friends. And don't worry about the naysayers that says the APNU AFC is doing nothing. You have to document things. You have to document it, so whenever the people rebel, everyone in the world will understand why they rebel.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something, people will rebel. It does not reside in the opposition to rebel. You understand? It resides in the people, because what is hurting the people? The government, in which is the PPPC.
Yeah.
So the people of Guyana have to make that decision.
Yeah. I like what you said. You brought up an interesting point about severances being paid to those sugar workers and persons given land. In many of these cases, most of the cases where these persons being laid off on the public sector, they're given 1 month salary. 1 month salary. And I want to share with you a story that we got from one of those persons who was laid off, somebody who served his country. And he was almost in tears today. I want to bring that video to you, and at the back of the or the end of the video we'll have a discussion. But it was quite sad today to listen to this man as he told his story about what he went through to get this work at GWI, and the fact that this work was the only thing that he had to maintain himself. And let me let the public listen to this story.
Davidson, a young man who served the government in a government institution, military-wise. I was injured on the 10th of November 1995. That was under former president, now deceased, President Jagan. He did promise me, Joel, everything gonna be all right. I was bedridden for a number of years. When I get up back, I was seeking the intervention of the government for what gonna be my proceedings after deemed permanent disabled. During the grant time, I met Mrs. Jagan, who said to me, Joel, at the time, the government can't mind you, and they never mind me. So I was pressing, and until I get a government job, until President Granger did ask Dr. Van Westchilds to put Joel to work, to do light work, which I remained. I was at the limb of GWI. I'm a live wire in GWI, and I was placed to do a personal task, which I looked after the meter boxes which take back from customers. I refurbished those boxes and put it back out to customers until there's a retrench process of 300 workers, as the country at large know what is going on. But I was implicated in that. And at this point in time, I don't think I should not be working. I has to be working because I have a family to maintain. And as somebody with a disability, I cannot, I will not succeed. And I'm doing good for myself. I know there's a lot of politicians who knows Joel in person. And I'm kindly asking for this matter to be resolved.
Right. Let us come back in, Nicole. This young man, well, not a young man now, but this man who served his country is appealing to somebody at this point in time. He's appealing. Nicole, you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
It's quite a sad story Joel is telling here about what has happened with him. And, he is appealing to the president. The man said this afternoon that he's going to lie down in front of Freedom House because he doesn't understand. He is permanently disabled. And this, my heart goes out to people like this who will find it difficult to get another job. You're going to be sent home. You served your country as a military officer. You got a job, a hold on, as people say. You're disabled, so this was like an oasis in the desert for you, and now you're being thrown to the wolves. Your thoughts, Nicole, on this story?
Well, my thoughts on that is that some kind of assistance should be given to him, being that he's disabled. Mm-hmm. The disabled fund that they have at the Social Services Ministry is around between $6,000 and $9,000 per person who are disabled and unable to get a job, and this per month, okay? that cannot suffice. I think they should go to Parliament and ask to raise that amount of money, because nobody can really survive on that. That's one. And so he should get himself there. I don't know if he wants to take the risk of lying down in front of Freedom House. I remember Donna McKinnon. You understand? And you remember what happened to Donna McKinnon? That was shot right next to Freedom House. So I really don't want to encourage that.
Yeah, but you must understand, Nicole. I understand his frustration. Here is a man who
I understand
is and I am wondering if Sheikh Bash is associated with the PPP looking at these things. You are going to send home a disabled man in this time when people are finding it so hard to get jobs. This is the caring administration.
They didn't do, again, due diligence, incompetence, not measuring what the person or the services the person has that he can supply to the organization. And let me say this, they got people who are crippled, you understand, that can work in these organizations by doing all kind of other things. It happens in all of the countries in the world. I don't know, Guyana had once said that this is what they'll promote and all of that with disabled persons. They'd engage with the Blind Society and all of that on it. But, you know, here comes the PPP and the dismantling all that was put in place. You understand?
It is so
all
sad.
that was put in place. This man is disabled, 9,000 or 6,000 or how much ever the money is from social services for disabled persons cannot cut it. You understand? That is not enough. And that money was raised under the AP and UAFC from, I believe, $6,000 or something like that, or $5,000 to that amount. And that's per month. And many persons have to survive on that. That's, you know, woefully inadequate. So one would hope that they can address this situation and think about it. And I hope his appeal to the installed president is answered and that he gets some kind of assistance from the government in place.
Well, let's listen to the other part of it before we move off from this particular topic, because we have a few more things to talk about.
Davidson, a young man, for this matter to be resolved, because as you know, when we going off, which it will be the end of this month, it only will be a 1 month package, and that 1 month package cannot do anything nor nothing at all. So please, I'm kindly asking somebody please take toll on this matter. Most likely the opposition leader already carry copies of the dismissal letter to the office. Thank you very much.
So are you appealing to the president also in this matter? Because he has the power to do something.
Yes, I already wrote him, but I never get no formal response.
So you wrote to the president?
Yes, I wrote him. Joel Davidson wrote the president. This was in December gone. I had a reply for where I asked for two items from the government, which was one, a piece of land, and a presidential grant. I did have word on the land, but I have to pay $1.7 million for that land. And I'm kindly asking His Excellency to look into this matter, which is very urgent, sir.
You're one of the many that they're sending off.
Yes, I am.
All right, Mr. Davis.
All right, so Nicole, that was the entire story. But it's sad, and I think we have so many other things to deal with this afternoon. But this is such a sad situation playing out there at GWI. Let us move on though, Nicole.
Well, I would just like to add that prior to 2015 and in the course of 2015, both governments had engaged with Food for the Poor to facilitate assistance to all of those persons who were, less fortunate and who would have required assistance. So I would imagine that Food for the Poor, instead of that 1.7 million, the president, if he was thinking, if he was thinking, he would have said, okay, Mr. What the man name was?
Mr. Davison, Joel Davison.
Okay, Mr. Davison. There is a provision for you. We will make you get the land, and we'll engage with Food for the Poor and give the man a small house somewhere.
Yeah.
You understand? Because he was answered but told, he tell them he losing his job, he ain't got no money, and it's woefully inadequate. The 1 month salary can't work. But the response is, pay 1.7 million. Where is he going to get it from?
Yeah.
What is his salary scale?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
What is his salary scale?
How is he going to find that 1.7 million?
Right. So that is why you engage with certain organizations and NGOs that provide those kind of services, and that's how you respond to situations like that.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
All right, so let's move on. I know we have a number of other topics, and I want to jump to this one because we're going to deal with the flood situation before we leave, but I want to jump to this particular story here. Now, let me see if I can bring it up for you, for the people there. Right. It says here, 𝐓𝐡 𝐞 jumped the gun. And what are they talking about? We heard in the news that there was a motion moved by GCOM and some PPP elected chairperson, the commissioners, to fire Roxanne Mears, fire Clement Mingo, also to fire the CEO, 𝐓𝐡 𝐑𝐮𝐬𝐡. This motion was brought to GCOM at their meeting, and a letter was sent by the chair to these persons asking to show cause why they should not be removed from their post. Now, why is this jumping the gun? Now, these persons, of course, are before the court with charges of misconduct in public office and a number of other things connected to the 2020 elections, regional and general elections. Now, you know what is interesting about this, Nicole, is that before the case is even finished, the GCOM chair is writing to these people and asking them to show cause why they should not be relieved of their duties. You know, if we follow this line of reasoning, and bear with me here, people, I want everybody to understand this. If we are to follow this line of reasoning, where charges can get you removed from your post, then this is what I suggest everybody should do. Let's bring charges against the GCOM chair. Let's bring charges against anybody if we want them moved from their post. The legal system does not work like that. You have to be convicted of a particular crime for that to have any bearing on your employment. So I don't get the reasoning here, and it seems as though somebody botched the rollout of this, because you can't ask the person why they shouldn't leave the job or move a motion to fire them when all they were charged. And I find it very strange, and it tells you clearly what is the intention of the PPP. What is the intention of these PPP commissioners who seem to have found their willing accomplice in the GCOM chair? Because nowhere in the world are you fired for charges, because anybody can bring charges against you, whether it's right or it's wrong or it's justified or it's true or it's false. So with that line of reasoning, this is all you have to do in politics if you want somebody removed. Trump up a charge against them. This is my take on this, Nicole.
And here we go again. Cameron Tran, Honorable MP, outlined on a program last evening that, you know, he has to look more deeply into the matter, but noted some of your same concerns. right?
Yeah.
Sure. It is premature if what we were saying was correct with regards to the letter.
Yeah.
And yes, it was premature. It's a premature decision. It shows spite. It shows people who just want to do what they want and do not want to follow the law, and even raise the 19 fraud charges against Irfan Ali. And Irfan Ali became president then, or then the fraud charges were withdrawn.
Yeah.
You understand? He became president with 19 fraud charges, or it was withdrawn just before, sometime thereabouts. Yes. I think it was after.
Yeah.
And he became president with 19 fraud charges. So how come, what goes for some goes for others? And it shows a clear line, victimization, spite, and that they don't think things through.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why we write letters and we document these things. So when people rise up against them, there's proof.
Yes.
So the international community, when they're talking, when the PPPC decide to point fingers and say, "Oh, hooligans," because that's their favorite language.
Mm-hmm.
When they point fingers and say that, people already got a stack of letters in there and a stack of complaints to indicate, look, we've been complaining, we got no response from the PSC, the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce, did this, did that, nobody responded and said, well, look, this is wrong, or this should have been answered, or whatever.
Yeah.
Even the Ghana Human Rights Association and the international organization. So, it's good to write letters. It's good to document things, because when you document, you have proof. So when I decide to act on certain things, where is the assistance and who will stop us?
Let me paint a better picture for the folks out there about what is happening here. And it seems as though, Nicole, that the PPP has one playbook when it comes to trying to remove quote unquote APNU AFC, as they deem aligned people.
Perceived.
Or perceived.
Mm-hmm.
Or persons who they think don't serve their purpose. Now, let us look at the Police Service Commission. They trump up some charges, allegedly, on Paul Slow and Conway. And then the Prime Minister writes them a letter asking them to show cause why they should not be removed. The men aren't convicted. Some charges were made. That's on that end. Again, we see it with Lowenfield and with Myers. Charges.
There we go again.
Right? We see it with a number of other officials in positions. Now, I am positing this. I am going to put this on the table. If this is a standard that we are going to hold, we're going to hold to this standard of, as long as a charge is laid against you, you should step down from your post. Then I think that Mr. 19 charges, first of all, should step down. The fraudulent president, charges were against him. So he should tell us why he should be president if charges were against him. Mr. Nandalal.
He was asked to resign.
Mr. Nandalal, exactly. Mr. Nandalal was in court for the law books. What he needs to write a letter to tell us why he shouldn't be removed from legal affairs. Brassington was charged. Right. Finance Minister was charged. Ashni Singh should tell us why he should, because this is the standard. You charge me and then you tell me I should remove from a post because I'm charged. You're not waiting for conviction, And this tells you exactly what their motives are. We're going to find some charges and then we're going to force you out the door saying that you can't serve in this position because you were charged. Is that what you're seeing, Nicole? Nicole?
Yes, Randy, you're absolutely correct.
Yes. But it's quite strange. It's quite strange this what is playing out in our country. You know, we said that they want to have total control over GCOM, and we see them making moves to do that. But we'll continue to watch this. We'll continue to see whether or not you're going to force a man out of a position because he was charged. When, of course, we know those charges could come from anywhere and anybody. Any private citizen could bring charges.
Could file a charge.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree.
Right.
And you were perfect in outlining, you know, the situation and the disparities between how it is being handled.
Yes.
Right? And what obtained before.
Yeah.
Randy, we're in a sad situation.
Sad.
Very sad. And it begins to get more diabolical as we continue along this government. Everything PPPC put their hands on, it got a lot of kickbacks in the windows, control, and wanting to keep power in the center, which is with central government, and want them to wield and deal.
Yes.
They don't want the decentralization of services. They don't want the independence of organizations. They do not want anything of that sort, because that means the country will run smoothly and people will not be able to steal monies. You understand? That's what it means.
Yeah.
So if they cannot get that so that they can get kickbacks, they will always attack the local democratic organs, the independent organizations that were created to mitigate any issues with any services linking, like the police service, commission, and all of those places.
Yeah.
So, Randy, the rain is pouring terribly here.
Yes, and I'm about to tell the viewers, if you might hear some rain in the background. The rains have started again, and we are in that May-June period, so this is to be expected, and this is why you know, Mr. Patterson was saying, you know, there was no preparation knowing that the May-June rains were coming. So if you're hearing the ambience of the rain, we apologize if it's disturbing you, but you know, it is what it is right now. As we're talking about rain, Nicole, I want to start, as we wind down the program, this segment with a photograph. Quite significant, and this is showing you what is happening in Kwakwani. Quite a sad situation unfolding up there. This is on Friday the 28th of May on the left-hand side, and then on the right, we see Tuesday the 1st of June, and you see how much that water would have raised in Kwakwani there. It is quite a national disaster playing out there for those persons who are displaced. You know, I don't know how to explain. This picture, of course, is courtesy of News Source, Go Mostly News, but we're bringing it to you just to give you an idea. And I want to share a video with those persons who might not have seen it. It is quite sad what is happening there in Kwakwani. Quite sad.
Yes, indeed. And,
can you imagine this is the
a same picture that was compliments of Gordon Mosley shown to the public. The persons are complaining that they have not received any assistance, and it has been 3 days since they're undergoing those terrible conditions. And one thing I to add, I listened to Gordon Mosley's program this morning on my way to work, and our regional chairman Darren was on the program, and he outlined all of the difficulties in Linden. But more importantly, the head of the CDC, 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐑𝐮𝐬𝐡, was on the program, and he was saying they're giving out a lot of things, but they have shortages. Well, not shortages. He did not say shortages.
Nicole, Nicole, 1 second.
They need.
You're telling me, Nicole, that the CDC is out of resources. They're appealing for resources.
Yes, that's what I heard. That's what I heard this morning. He said that there's lots of stuff they're in need of to better able to serve the people. That's what I heard on Gordon Mosley's program this morning.
Wow.
And they can play back the tape and see that. I heard it, I was in the vehicle with my daughter, and I was like, wow, CDC, that means they're not collaborating with not CDC, but the government is not collaborating effectively with the local organs, and they do not have a task force to ascertain who, where, when, why, and what. Who are the persons in the blood, who we need to reach first, who we need to give items to first, and all of that. Even on a show, I think it was yesterday, Honorable Member of Parliament 𝐓𝐡𝐞 would have indicated that they went along the Pomeroon and they bypassed many of the communities that were flooded and in dire need, and they went straight along to a particular community that is more likely to support them. Passed all of those communities and distributed. But in the Chronicle, there's a big statement: 1,000 hampers delivered in Pomeroon River. But who got the 1,000 hampers?
Yeah.
Who got it? Not the people in those communities. Honorable Member 𝐓𝐡𝐞 said were distributed. All the other persons that supported them got those needed resources.
Yeah.
And that's just some of my concerns.
Yeah. There's obviously well, we know what the PPP gives. If we look at the COVID cash grant distribution, you know what the PPP gives. There's never any equity. There's never any equity. There is always this discrimination in distribution and favoring their communities, and everybody is suffering. Everybody, look at what is happening in Kwakwani. I'm showing the video right now. You would think that they're in Venice. You feel that they're in
3
Venice
days now,
and they're going.
right?
This
but
is
3 days now, the people haven't got any response. That's what they were complaining of all over Facebook today. And if you check one of the posts on Sheriff Duncan, the most recent post, one of the persons is complaining that they did not receive those anything from the government, even though they're crying out.
Yeah. It's really sad. It is disastrous what is happening up there. This is one of the hardest hit places in the country. Water is up to the roofs in many of these locations. Think about the losses, think about the health, the risk, think about the fact that these persons have been now displaced. Many of them might not be able to use their homes, inhabit their homes again. And it is sad to even think that the CDC is appealing for resources. This government, they're out of parliament. This is when you need to convene parliament and pass some sort of emergency relief for these people. Don't be running around, George. Don't go. This is instead of the PPP. 1 second, Nicole. Instead of the PPP, working with the opposition, going to parliament, passing some emergency relief for these persons who are displaced. They're pulling PR stunts with the president in the middle of the night, going to see which pump operator sleeping, why the pump ain't working 24 hours when they know they can't be working 24 hours, and putting the blame, saying that the city council is sabotaging. And instead of dealing with the major issues, if they were doing what they're supposed to be doing, then you wouldn't have the CDC people coming on the radio station appealing for supplies. It is confusion powder all over. Sorry. I mean, it is really frustrating to think about the lack of any sort of, it's just shambolic. It is just shambolic what is happening, and we feel for those persons up there. Folks, as part of the effort to bring relief to persons and provide information, the Office of the Leader of the Opposition has decided to open a flood emergency office. A flood emergency office at 39 Crow Street. This is the Office of the Leader of the Opposition. This is primarily to help gather and disseminate information about persons who are in need And so if you want to call, if you're affected by the flood in any significant way, you can call that number there, 503-2465, if I got it correctly. That is for the Flood Emergency Center. We know what is happening around the country, and we hope that persons would use the opportunity to ensure that information comes to the office about persons who are affected, persons who would have been displaced, persons whose homes are completely underwater. Let us know the situation where you are. Let us know so we can help you through the CDC, through ensuring that you have the correct information on where you can go to get supplies and aid in your region. Just use the service, or you can walk in at 39. This is on Crow Street, 1 building before Japarts, about 4 buildings before Camp Street, the leader of the opposition's office. Additionally, efforts are being sought to push a flood relief, and this effort is headed by the National Congress of Women, and that is the women's arm of the PNCR, and they're appealing for donations to help our sisters in Kwakwani. Of course, it's worded as sisters because it's the National Congress of Women, but of course we know everyone will be aided. Please donate to help the people of Kwakwani, food items, linens, clothing, cleaning materials, and of course you can get those. You can donate those things directly to the NCW headquarters, Public Road, Kitty. That is where the Burnham bus is, right at the roundabout. Or you can contact them on 603-9575. Donations are accepted again at the NCW headquarters, Public Road, Kitty. That is where the Burnham bus is at the roundabout there, the seawalls. Or you can contact them on 603-9575. We're hoping that we can get persons to contribute to the effort to aid those persons who are suffering and who have been dislocated and put out of their livelihood. We haven't spoken about the agricultural fallout of this, Nicole. For those persons who are now joining us, we have online our political correspondent, Nicole Telford. Nicole, you're still with us?
Yes, I am. I am.
The agricultural fallout of what is happening around the country, Nicole. We already saw what was happening on the market with prices of goods, especially vegetables and meats, and we saw a skyrocketing of those prices. Now that these farmers have been, some of them decimated, all of their crops now underwater, what can we expect in the coming weeks as it relates to these prices on the market?
Well, it tells a story. Look at the images, people. Look at the images online. Look at the flooding. Look at the farmers complaining. Look at the thousands of chicken that is cold, and the images that were on Sheriff Duncan's page, and that's all over Facebook and in all the news agencies and magazines. Look at those images, and that will tell you there will be a rise and a spike in prices on all items, because this flood is not just a flood and an argument. That's why they should be making contingency plan and having a national task force. The national task force that will include all of the sectors of this economy will be able to ascertain what will be the impact of this flood, and not only sharing out hampers and taking out pictures as they are doing. Guyanese people will feel the pressures and the burdens in the aftermath of this flood. They can feel it economically, developmentally, and in the agricultural sector, the food prices. Nothing can develop fast as a result of this flood. It was already stagnated under them. Already stagnated with the increase in prices. This is going to get worse, Randy. I am sorry. But All of the farms are underwater. The images are all around showing you that. All of the farms. So
Farmlands are flooded.
What do you think will be vegetable prices?
Yes.
Livestock on the trend. Many of the people lost livestock. Look at the man in Blackbush Folder.
Yes.
How many ducks he had and how much he got. 12 left back because that's what he could have saved. Look at the farmer with those cows. No grass to eat because of the high water and the rain. And it's days and nobody is going to tell them anything.
I shudder to think, Nicole, about what is going to happen on the market with the prices of vegetables, because of course we know prices are dictated by supply and demand, and when the supply is limited, there's a high demand, and then prices go up. You know, we know this. And the government should this fraudulent administration should be anticipating these things and planning for some sort of economic easing, so that we can cushion the blow. We can cushion what will happen in the next few weeks, because I'm going to tell you that
Randy,
Bora and those other
pummeled by the rain.
Yeah.
Randy, I'm being pummeled by the rain now, and it's flooding in my ear.
My.
I have to go sorry, but the water is coming in.
Right, so we go. Nicole, thank you.
I gotta go.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Folks, we're joined today by our political correspondent, Nicole Telford. Nicole, it was lovely having you today. We're about to wrap up. Thank you. Right, so folks, we're talking there about the prices of goods and what will happen in the next few days as we see flood waters around the country. And you know, it is quite sad what we see happening around the country. But we have to hope. We have to hope and pray, as we say, that the government does what they're supposed to do, and see if there's be some sort of easing to cushion the blow of what is to come in the next few weeks, folks. You know, I'm saddened today that COVID is still with us. I'm saddened today that we see this administration in such a shambolic manner responding to the flood situation. I'm saddened today that we see persons like Mr. Joel Davison here, who is appealing as someone who is disabled and has been sent home by GWI. I'm saddened by these things. I'm saddened to the point of tears, I'm telling you, that this is what we have to endure under this fraudulent administration. I'm saddened at the fact that these persons at GCOM who feel that they can trump up charges against people and then use that to push people out of their jobs so that they can stack GCOM with their own cronies. Folks, it is a wet day, it's a cold day, it's a sad day in Indiana. And as I leave you this afternoon, I remind you, let us continue to work for national development. Let us continue to work. Remember, you can call the flood emergency, the FEC, Flood Emergency Center, leave the opposition's office. Of course, they're primarily right now with information sharing as it relates to the flood. And if you want to donate to the people of Kwakwani who are hardest hit at this point in time, you can go to make a donation to the headquarters of the National Congress of Women, and that is on Public Road Kitty at the Burnham Bus, or you can call the number on this flyer, which is 603-9597. Folks, let me say this again. Let's take care of each other. Let's continue to work for national development. My name is Randolph Critchell. We thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We've braved the rain, we've braved the elements, and we want to thank you very much for continuing to support our program. We want at the afternoon rush here to also start a drive to help persons, and we'll be hearing about that pretty soon. And we thank our political correspondent, Nicole Telford, who joined us today for extensive unpacking of the issues like we do here in the rush. Folks, do enjoy the rest of your day. For my basketball friends who are still on the live, let me say that the playoffs are definitely heating up. Sorry if your team is not winning at this moment. But let me leave you on that light note. That's my one more thing this afternoon. I am enjoying the playoffs. I am enjoying, of course, that my team, the Utah Jazz, are winning. I'm also enjoying it that the LA Lakers are losing. And though I'm not a LeBron hater, but let me just say, I root for the underdog. I root for the underdog. So let's see what will happen. Lots of games happening. Maybe we'll have another program, another time, a sports segment where we can talk about all of these things happening in the world of sports. Thank you very much for staying tuned this afternoon. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.